got you on my mind. Oh, now you are here. I said it's okay to see what we could do, baby. Just me and you and you and
Sometimes it ain't time, sometimes it can be. This time we kick back and let your conscience be free. The music is playing loud and we never have to leave. We never gotta leave. We never gotta leave. Yeah, I ain't going nowhere. Yes, what you gonna do? I'm just putting it out right now. We cool down, and I'm sweet. Mash up the gear and let your conscience be free. That's right. Come and bring it. Cool it out the house. Yes, Irene, bust them off. Rush up that talk. This shit is long.
Beautiful brown skin lady, your move something Montego Bay style. Smile from the Caribbean Isle, no frontin' while we pumping the beat. Audio vibes to jumping like guile out of the seat with the complete vibe. Scooters and 45s to palm trees, red stripe nights to calm breeze. The type to relax, ease back to conceive wax and contact the origin of habitat. Two cats making it fat, it's like that with a rap similar to a pitter-pat of a cat walking a roof to make it back to the truth. I did crate for the late great existence of black plates to booming the eights on the floor, making you want more. Leaving my mark like a dark mark on the wood floor. It's good for the soul, like dinner with your moms. People under the stairs to do all the drop bombs. Snares laid back like armchairs at the beach. I'm out of reach, so play my CD and let it teach the recipe. Half B, Crocker, half David T. Walker, fresh breath control like Banaka.
Sometimes it ain't time, sometimes it can be. This time we kick back and let the conscience be free. The music is playing loud and we never have to leave. Yo, we never gotta leave. We never gotta leave. That's mine. Never gonna leave, man. Stay right here. Listen to in here to rough up the trap. Rough up the trap. Not the people. Yes, to the people. Yes.
usual. Give me 60 minutes. Black channel 2, no telling what I do to you. Like the little dude at the playground. You pushed me too. Think about the day when I was like, who was you? You was like, I was like Asher do, yeah, a little cocky, but what's a man to do? And anyway, ha ha ha, you like it too. You beautiful.
Nothing I can do. I'm feeling your hope when you're feeling me. If you only had a clue what I could do to you, the done pull it down to shut. No other can melt me butter. Stutter, boy, you make me stutter. Beat on come like I'm the pre-starter. He's in the ignition. Left a ride brother in the crib, the club, the whip, the tub. Can't pull the plug on his rubber of love.
Fingertips taking next steps now. Let it rise up, suppose that it is real. Simplify succession as the royal outcry. So your fingertips take it next. quicker you want, the quicker. Thanks for coming out, everybody. Thank you, Isaiah and Dave, the sound guy, and Resiliency Music Festival. This is awesome. Okay. I have my phone with all the words on it. Just 1 second. Slight technical difficulty. We're working on getting some things recorded, but this next song was one of the first songs the band made together. All the things. All the things.
We stand in a garden of roses. We stand before a hundred of shining. What is above is below. What is beyond is within. As you weave your web of delicate and permanent, do you see the stars? Overhead, do you see the stars shining? Overhead, a reflection over me. The stars shining overhead. Do you see the stars shining overhead? As we surrender to the answers within. Do you see the stars? Surrendering.
Do we have time for one more song? One more? Okay. Seems to be filling up a little bit more now. Just wanted to introduce ourselves. We're Creek Street. This is Jeff on guitar, Rosso over here on the beats, and Nella on violin and vocals, and I'm Devin. It's the first time we're going to play it out in public, but we're trying a cover song for the first time. Another technical difficulty. We're good? Yep, ready. Thanks so much, everybody.
All right. Yeah. Creek Street Collective, some chilled electronic beats that keep us cool on this hot day. All right. Ooh. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge that we're gathering on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of X. We honor and respect the Sinai's past, present, and future. We're committed to co-creating with their enduring land. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Kootenay Resilience Festival. I'm Jean-Marc from the Kootenay Lake Innovation Center, and my movement partner is Mitch from the Kootenay Mountain Culture Group, Sharissa from the Langham Cultural Center, and Nish right here from Shoreline Building Performance. We got Brian here from the Langham. Thank you so much. First and foremost, we'd like to extend our deepest gratitude to the brave firefighters flying around Kootenay Lake, North Kootenay Lake, Slocan, and your tireless efforts, yes, in battling the wildfires have just started and will continue for years to come. There's nothing short of heroic, and we're immensely grateful for your dedication and sacrifice. Thank you. So these wildfires and the pressing need for climate resilience is precisely why we've come together for this summer-long experimental festival. This Kootenay Resilience Festival is not just an event, but a movement towards a more resilient and regenerative future. So we're thrilled to have you here in person and online. Thank you so much for joining us online, if you can. But a movement towards resilient and regenerative future. We're coming here together to explore, discuss, and celebrate the incredible strides being made in our community and bioregion towards food security, local energy, housing innovation, and shared mobility. Our focus today is the Expo. It's with the bioregion's best energy experts. They have solutions that directly impact our lives and our community's future. Alongside food, housing, and mobility, we aim to significantly reduce the cost of living and ensure climate resilience for everyone in our bioregion and beyond. So food security ensures that every member of our community has access to local, nutritious, and affordable food regardless of economic circumstances. Localized energy will guarantee our homes, businesses, and people remain safe and secure, ensuring growth, a reduction of costs, and environmental impact. Housing innovation will provide low-cost and climate-resilient living options that meet the need of all residents. And finally, shared mobility will offer efficient, cost-effective transportation solutions connecting our communities in more accessible and wonderful ways. Especially from BC Transit, thank you for driving the bus. Yeah, buddy. These first events are planting a garden for the first time, so bear with us as we experiment, just like tweaking your solar panel to harvest the max amount of power. It's an impact festival, so modeled after others around the world where conferences are smashed together with music and the beautiful Kootenay creatives in a festival for exciting action. So we're delighted to present an amazing lineup of speakers today and musicians who will share their knowledge, experience, and creative with us. Our goal is to dive deep into these important proposed solutions and invite our communities into ongoing engagement online. Woo! Woo! So this way, the most critical solutions will receive to throw. You will have and how this happens. So please bear with us as we unfold this journey together. Here's the format for the rest of the show. Panel 1 is next at 30 minutes. We're going to have Rick Lochtenberg, from Nelson City Councilor and Technology developer. He's going to moderate. After that, we're going to have another hour of music from Railtown, and then a second panel by Nicole Charlwood from the Green Party. And then we're going to have a QA from Niche. And big love to all of our speakers that have showed up today, including Rick, Scott, Jim, Don, Hal, Jaden, Mikhail, and everybody else for showing up and sharing with us your expertise. So once you see them on stage, make sure you go and talk to them. Most importantly, huge thanks to our sponsors, Creative BC, Nelson Kootenay Lake Tourism, Kootenay Co-op, Nelson Credit Union, Boast.ai, The Langham, Kootenay Lake Innovation Center, Mountain Culture Group, and of course, your generous donation. There's a little jar that Brian's going to hand out here. If you can pitch in any which way you can, hit them up as we go along. We'd also like to give great thanks to our food vendors, Feature Soul Foods, Kick It Ash over there. Get some food in you. And check out our engagement booth at the end here. At any point, just get into the engagement booth and we'll talk about how you can engage deeply. And a huge thanks to Kootenay Mountain Culture, Dave Ronald, All Ears Production. Thank you so much. Thanks for coming. Let's get on. I'd like to introduce Rick, who's going to introduce our first panel. If our first panel speakers can come up. Woo!
It's an absolute thrill to be here, and I'm not going to waste any time because we've got a half hour and a really great group of guys and a really important topic. So we've got Rick Tiefenbach. Rick? Which one's Rick? There we are. So Rick Tiefenbach is from Infinity Solar Group. And Rick, I'm going to explain. I'm going to get each of you to give, as a part of your 2 minutes, an introduction to yourself too. So I'm not going to waste time going on a big introduction. We've also got Scott Spencer from Nelson Hydro. Scott, come on up. And Jim Jacobson from Energy Economics Solar. And Bruce Wilson from Thor Hydro. Now I'm not quite sure, are we going to just this? Where's JM? We want to make sure everybody can see you. So how about, yeah, maybe we'll do that. Okay, I'll start just so you guys know who I am, and we're gonna have them come just up front here. So, yeah, that'll be good. Dancing around that. No problem. My name is Rick Lochtenberg. I'm a city councillor in Nelson. I'm also the chair of the Community Energy Association, which is a provincial and expanding organization that helps municipalities, local governments in particular, enact the transition to low carbon resilience. So that means reducing greenhouse gas emissions, as well as broadening and hardening and improving their energy systems. So I am particularly interested to hear from these guys today, and then we'll get into some questions. And if you've got something that really catches your attention, just hold on to it. We may be able to loop you in, but definitely grab them after this and ask them directly. So we're going to start with, I think we're going to start with Rick. He's right there.
I got told to come over here.
Okay, perfect.
Oh, yeah, my name is Rick Tiefenbach. I'm here with Infinity Solar. Our head office is in Invermere. We also have an office in Calgary, and then a couple of us work from home down in Castlegar. So we do mostly grid-tied installations throughout the Kootenays and east, as well as the Calgary area. So we specialize grid-tied, usually kind of the 4 kilowatt and above. We do larger commercial installations in the, the 50 to 100 kilowatts, depending on the jurisdiction, as we've talked about. So we've been around for about 6 years now. We have mostly a crew down in, and we're just happy to see the intake in solar adoption picking up here in British Columbia, and look forward to your questions. And that's, I don't know, kind of all we got to say. Out and meeting a bunch of you.
Okay, thanks very much. My name is Scott Spencer. I'm the general manager for Nelson Hydro. And those of you who may not be familiar with Nelson Hydro, we're one of only 5 municipal utilities in the province of British Columbia. We're also unique in that we have our own generating plant, a 16 megawatt facility at Bonington Falls, and we manage our own transmission and distribution. We also service customers outside of the municipal boundaries, so we have about 11,000 customers from Bonington all the way to Coffee Creek in Nelson. So, or Coffee Creek on the way between Nelson and Kaslo. So some of the things that I think are relevant this event today is in 2012, Nelson Hydro implemented a net metering program to allow customers to install solar or any kind of own generation onto our grid, and basically act as a battery. So we buy, and if you need in the wintertime or other times when you don't have enough generation yourself, you take it back at the same rate. Coming of that, in 2012, we established the first energy advisory organization called EcoSave for the utility, and that provides services to the customers. Expanded in 2019 to include all regional district of the Central Kootenay customers who are interested in efficiency rebates, home retrofits. We also have an e-bike loan program through the City of Nelson for City of Nelson residents. So EcoSave is a big part of that. And one of the initiatives that they started early on was the community solar garden. So that was kind of came out of engaging with the community, and people who didn't own their own homes just had, they were renters, or perhaps lived in Blewett where they never got any sun, or their roofs were just not suitable for installing solar, or didn't have any micro hydro opportunities. And so people were able to our solar garden. So we have a 60 kilowatt solar garden that Nelson Hydro manages. Customers own the panels, and at the end of the year they get a credit for the generation based on the number of panels that they own from that facility. As a utility, we're also engaged in always looking for new capacity. That's one of the biggest issues Certainly, BC Hydro has signaled that BC will be short on power unless we add capacity. They have, calls for power going on throughout the province. Nelson Hydro is also looking for opportunities to add capacity. We have no opportunity to increase on the Kootenay River. All the water licenses are taken, so we're micro hydro, small hydro, pico hydro. We've looked at solar, so we're actively using the solar garden as a pilot project to understand utility scale solar. We know that there's no wind regime in this area that is worthwhile tapping into. We'd love to get into geothermal, but that's a very expensive piece to type of, when I talk about geothermal, I'm talking about deep geothermal wells, but that's very expensive to start off with. So we're looking into all these things. Recently, we were also trying to, instead of building capacity, trying to spread out that load a little bit. So battery energy storage is of interest to us. We weren't able to make a business case to make that to work at this time. The costs are still too high relative to the benefits, but in the future that may shift. With technology, one of the things we're very interested in as AI improves and other things, there's lots of utilities around the globe that are experimenting with distributed storage and being able to engage with customers to manage the load on a demand side perspective. So those are things that we think are coming. You need to have advanced metering in order to be able to do that, but that's something that we're actively looking at to try and improve the utility. Thanks.
Thanks, Scott.
Hello, my name's Jim Jacobson. I'm one of the co-founders of Energy Economics. We're a design and build solar company. We have 15 employees right now, and we're located in Cranbrook, Creston, Kelowna, Vernon, and Vancouver, and we install across the province. Thanks to Jean-Marc for putting this on. Exciting to be part of this discussion. Looking forward to seeing how the comments and feedback work over the next little while. I guess for the purposes of today, I was going to talk a little bit about the art of the microgrid. So one of our specialties, we're a gold certified SolarArc installer, the only one in Canada. And the SolarArc is a hybrid solar generator. It works in conjunction with solar plus batteries, either energy storage, energy production systems. So when we're looking at a microgrid, we'll talk it either can be in front of the meter or behind the meter. So typically when we're working with either an old owner or a business or even a small community such as Jean-Marc is going to build, shameless plug, check out his website. But what we're looking at is assessing how much energy that local community requires. And then we look at what are the best ways to produce that energy. So one of the ways is we say, okay, based on location, solar exposure, how much solar can we put in? Then what do we do with that solar power, and what do we do when there isn't enough sunshine? So we want battery storage. Feeds whatever you're using. Solar power, you need something else. So batteries, they could be gel batteries, lithium batteries. There's lots of others coming down the pipe, and there's hydrogen and a few others that people might touch on today. But we're looking at that total consumption. We make work 365 days of the year and for a long time, so 10, 15 years of guaranteed production. As we're looking at this, microgrids, they're resilient, they save over time, they save needing to build another dam, for example, because we can now generate power by ourselves. Nelson Hydro isn't there yet, but BC Hydro has just launched a new program where they're actually paying people to install solar, not just on their house, but at the small business and medium-sized businesses as well as industrial, because they recognize don't have enough demands. So the easiest way and the shortest time frame and the most affordable way is to have asset owners do it themselves. Put solar and other solar, wind, whatever that is the best solution for them, is put that on their buildings, produce their own power. They have power when they need it, and then they can actually feed back to the grid when peak demand requires. So I hope we have some opportunities to discuss and ask questions and answer questions, and I'll pass it over. Bruce?
Hi, everyone. Excuse me. Hi, everyone. Thanks to Jean-Marc and all the organizers today. It's great to be in Kaslo, as always. I'm Bruce Wilson, based in Kimberley. I wear a number of hats, so let me go back a little bit and tell you a bit about my origins. Born and raised in Scotland. I joined the oil and gas industry out of university. I worked in the oil and gas industry for 30 plus years. And then I left it to take action on climate change as I realized the harms that we were doing to the planet, as I realized that time was running short. I had to take my own direct action on that, and that's involved a number of things. So I wanted to share that. It's maybe not a popular place to come from, but I have very definite perspective on that have helped me going forward. One of the first things I did, I chaired the board of an organization called Iron and Earth, and Iron and Earth's mission is to help communities that are and workers that are connected to the oil and gas industry to realize the potential of what they can do, the skills that they have, they can bring to the energy transition. It's really important. We have a lot of tremendously skilled people, and a lot of people who've built pride and culture in that industry who need our help to change, to realize that the time is urgent, that we need to take action now, and what can they bring to that? And the answer is a huge amount. And so Iron and Earth, we're facilitating programs to help them train and in various areas. One growing area is energy storage. You don't get to be resilient if you're generating energy from solar and wind without energy storage. So I got into the energy storage, green hydrogen through the electrolysis of water, using that to store energy for long duration so that you can actually take facilities through the winter with that. So I founded Thor Hydrogen to look at that specific challenge. I also consult with the European Marine Energy Centre, which is looking at tidal energy from all the tidal rips around the islands. Wonderful for Haida Gwaii and other places too. So a lot of relevance to Canada. Wind power, and then turning all of that into hydrogen and into other green chemicals. So at it from a number of angles, but what I want to talk today about specifically is resilience and community resilience and the localization that we need to foster. Economic resilience and climate resilience go hand in hand. We not only have the solutions to deal with climate change, we have the ability to thrive through climate change, through this transition. I think that's something that we need to place greater emphasis on. And so through the Lighthouse Development Cooperative, which is a group that got together, small companies getting together and punching above their weight because of that, we want to create community-owned commercial developments that are based on all the technology that we've got. The energy generation, the energy efficiency, the district heating. The whole idea is to decentralize everything. If we decentralize and distribute energy, we will naturally gravitate towards better resilience. And we do that in a way that we partner with the communities to lift everybody. That rising tide will lift all boats, creating jobs, creating skills, creating pride in the community. And that's what I'd like to talk about today, and I want to hear your voice on that and what you think about that, how we get there. We have to build stuff. We need the engines of our change. How do we get to that? Where do we start? What do we prioritize? Really about the guys up here on the stage, we all know the solutions, but we need to couple that to the will of the people to actually make it happen. And it's the most vulnerable people amongst us who are going to suffer greatly from this. Let's make it happen for them, for all of us. Thanks.
All right, so I'm going to ask the panelists to come forward, and we're gonna do a bit of a lightning round here. So we're going to try to keep our answers pretty short and then pass it so we get everybody sort of reacting to each other and the same questions. Can everybody see them okay, or should we try to get you a little bit more? Come on over more, Rick. How about you go here? I'll move this over here. All right. And I'm going to hand this to you. You guys will hand that mic around. I'll use this one. Oh, it's okay. I'd like to start by building off of what Bruce was saying about what's the community role in resilience. And, you know, a lot of this, the Resilience Festival, especially for Kaslo and the Kootenays, is unique to this area. We've got ample hydro, for example, but that's tied into a larger grid. And it would be interesting to hear your perspectives on what resilience means specifically for this region. And we'll start with that, and then we'll build on it, on that question. Rick, go ahead.
Yeah, I think as we've talked about, kind of bringing in those other ways of generating electricity is really what the area needs. As we're seeing less and less precipitation in the area, more and more drought. BC Hydro as a whole was an importer of electricity the last couple of years, so we're generating what we can with hydro, but then buying electricity from other parts of the country that are burning now, you know, natural gas and coal. So to be able to build up some of that generation that we have on our own, whether it's solar or another, you know, more hydro, where we can, you know, take some of the pressure off the hydro dams, and maybe, you know, hopefully we're not building any more, but we're seeing kind of how Site C went. You know, just being able to have that on your own house, generating your own electricity, and not worrying about the fires if the grids go down and that type of thing.
Yeah, well, so Jim, just to take that, you mentioned Site C, you mentioned hydro. Hydro tends to be, especially the large scale hydro, tends to be, you know, it has its own impact. We don't, you know, once it's up and operating, we tend to look at it as a low impact source of energy, but getting there is difficult. And so maybe we can talk about, again, localizing it here. What are some of the solutions where we're balancing both the need to continue to, you know, develop new generation, while at the same time trying to minimize the impacts that these projects can have? And so you know, and that pivots to solar. Solar, is that viable in this area? If so, what does that look like, and how can we marry that with some more, you know, better storage solutions and so on? So, Rick, what are your thoughts? I'm sorry, not Rick. Jim, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I think the first part was talking about resilience, and I think the idea of, you know, as a solar guy, the idea of resilience is that the homeowner is owning and producing their own power. So that's creating resilience for the household. But as people have their own power, they're behind the meter, so it's on their house, on their roof, they're using that, circumvents through the breaker panels, so you always consume the solar first. If you're producing more than you need, that's when it goes out to the grid, and the utility corporation can then use that to offset their demand that they have. So again, if you own your own power and you're still connected to the grid, actually building resilience for the utility as well. Mm-hmm. So can you rephrase your second part of that?
No, I think you captured. That was great, and let's pass it on to Scott, because Scott's heard from me at Nelson City Council. We're the governance of Nelson Hydro, so I spent a lot of time hassling Scott about these questions. But Scott, pivoting and talking about the balance of hydro, which seems so natural here, and you mentioned new hydro projects would be great.
We've talked about how to can them without creating necessarily the environmental impacts that sometimes accompany hydro, and then balancing in solar and storage solutions as well. How does mix fit for this area?
Yeah, thanks, Rick. That's a great question, and it's really something that we've struggled with as a utility, looking at different projects. From an economic perspective, we look at the levelized cost of the energy. So how much is it cost over the lifetime, and compare that to the amount of the cost of Fortis BC, who is connected to us, who are from perspective literally generating clean green power from hydroelectric, the heritage hydro that exists on the other side of the river. So, we're always looking at, well, where's the easy cost energy? We keep coming back. The cheapest energy is the energy that you're not using. And from a resilience perspective, and from the ability for a community perspective of like, what can I do? The average person can't, build a new dam, or, many people, when we talk about the vulnerable populations, they're not looking at putting solar on their roof. They're not able to do things. But what every one of us can do is look at our consumption. And it's not just how much total energy we're consuming, but also when we consume that. Because when we start talking, I mentioned earlier about capacity, we're going to be short on capacity in the province by 2028. And so all the utilities are looking at how can we increase that capacity to meet the predicted demand. Well, that capacity is designed right now to meet the peak. So at 6 p.m. on the coldest day of the year for Nelson Hydro, actually in the summer when everybody's got their, like today probably be a pretty good example of that, where there's a lot of consumption. But if people can shift that load, even just voluntarily, and utilities are looking at ways to incentivize that, but voluntarily, if people can choose not to, run their dishwasher or take a shower or do their dishes or their laundry during those peak hours between 5 and 7 p.m., that means that we don't have to build more capacity. If we can spread it out over the 24-hour period, the same amount of energy, we have much less capacity. So from a resilience perspective, that's where I think we should be putting our money in.
Yeah, thank you. Bruce?
Of build a bunker in New Zealand or something like that, but we all know that's patently ridiculous because the solution is community-based and everybody pulling together. So it's adaptation, which is smart solutions that we need to create. And it's around localization, as I said. It's around identifying things, supply chain. The amount of leakage, if you like, that goes out of a particular region. It might be paying for gasoline. Well, let's charge our electric vehicles and make sure that money stays here, first of all. Food security. Now, we're not going to grow 100% of food around here, but if we learn to grow 10 or 15%, then we can build on these kind of things. And again, this is a supply chain thing. The core of that is energy, but energy is only the beginning. It's what you do with the energy. It's the intelligent things that you do. Actually, it's not only energy is not the beginning. Efficiency, the kilowatt hour that you don't have to generate, is the best one, absolutely. So it's a question of priorities, first of all. The most important thing that we can do, as I said, is keep people safe, and that is to the vulnerabilities of climate-related extreme weather events. So if we want to start somewhere that is really great, it's in community hubs that are intrinsically resilient. Why? Because they have air filtration, they have cooling, they generate their own energy, they have their own comms. You can plug your electric vehicles back into those locations. They have district heating, they have heat storage. And what they do is they become beacons, if you like, for what you can do. Once you have that centralized opportunity there, and you feed all the technology into it, and you educate people about what they can do, that's where you get to the point of understanding. As far as additional capacity, every building, every roof has to be a substrate for generating energy. We need to create virtual power plants, first of all. We have the opportunity to do that. We've got Great Lakes where floating solar is absolutely an option. And that's the kind of thing to the table straight away.
Great. And Jim, just give me a time check. 5 minutes, okay. So we're gonna go try to get each of you for 1 minute each, and I think we'd like to make it give us our audience something to home here. What is something that they can do? If assuming we all recognize the challenge of resilience, we know that it's a part of conservation. It's also part of generation. The solution has to have both. What are some high impact things that this audience right here can start engaging with and start doing today? It could be anything. It could be advocating for bigger change at a policy level, or it's something personal. Bruce, we'll start with you.
Something personal. Know how much power you consume. How much energy do you consume? Do you look at your bills, and do you look at that? Everybody can look at a chart or make an Excel little spreadsheet of what you use, and know what the different tiers are. And you talk about voluntarily shifting. Well, when it affects when it affects the bottom line, yeah, shift it. Start to do some smart things first of all. Then pay attention to how well your home is insulated. Shade in the summer too, and so forth. Heat pumps, the first way to go. These things are ultra efficient, so understand what is available. So it's starting from the ground up and building to a level of awareness that allows you to help other people. Put your own mask on first before you help somebody else with. And then we will get there. So this is community mobilization. Those of us who are enabled, let's enable other people first of all.
Great, excellent advice, Bruce, and I'll echo that from a utility perspective. There's lots of programs and rebates that are out there. Many of them income to help people with trying to home or improve their windows or reduce their energy consumption overall through heat pumps and other things like that. So there are programs out there. The province and the federal government are sponsoring many of those to really, because everyone is recognizing that's a really engaged way to resolve some of the, and from a perspective, knowing your energy consumption, but just being proactive and remembering that, okay, it's dinner time. Let's turn the heat down for a little while. Let's be conscious of it. Educate your children. The next generation are going to be the ones that are going to be impacted the most by our decisions right now. So make sure that they understand, and that make it a game that they get to turn the thermostat down at 5 o'clock in the evening, or they get to turn it down before going to bed at night, or some sort of a routine to really sort of pass on the knowledge that we're talking about here today, so that that the generations to come can benefit from it.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of already been said, but I guess the first part of understanding any problem is educating yourself what that problem could be. So understanding your home energy consumption, when and where you use it, what uses a lot of energy, what you can and can do without. I think one of the programs that does, and the City of Nelson has it through the RDCK, the Greener Homes program offered it, was a home energy assessment. And part of the reason the federal government did that program was to help people understand where inefficiencies are in their home, and then how can they address those inefficiencies. So I think that's just, a further step is actually having a professional come in, assess your home, do the blower door test, do this, look for leaks, look for insulation, look for thermal dams, and say, hey, here's some things you can do to make your home more energy efficient, and then you can deal from there.
I would say put pressure on your local politicians and the local utility in more community solar projects. We find that there's a lot of properties that want to get solar in the BC region. It just doesn't make sense for them. They don't have the roof sloping the right way. They have beautiful trees surrounding their house, or they're up against a beautiful valley hill, and it just doesn't make financial sense for that person to get solar. Now, if they were able to buy into a Nelson type community solar garden or some more of the community buildings that you could buy in a portion and get, solar credits that way to help offset your usage. That'd be a fantastic thing to help in this area where we have more trees and mountains than other places in the country. So there's many places that do make a lot of sense for solar in the Kootenays. There's a lot of places that just doesn't make sense. And for us to have to be able to, we're turning people away who want to pay for solar, who we have to convince them it actually doesn't make sense for you. You should be putting your money into other, climate resiliency options. But if we have those community there that everyone can take part of, whether you own your house or you have a house that's up in the mountains.
Great. Thanks, gentlemen. Join me in a round of applause. And I'll hand it over to you, Jam. I just wanted to, again, we got them. There's something we can all do. Each one of us can do something in our home. We can do something in our community. And if it's not clear right now what that is, then definitely pull them aside and pick their brain a little bit more. So thanks again, guys.
Perfect. Rick, yeah. And then, like you said, there's deep dive at any point. Give us your feedback, change form, or Rick will talk to you about this really neat AI platform that we've got cooking. And yeah, now we got Railtown and another panel. Stay tuned.
Hello, Kaslo. Welcome to this today. Thank you so much for having us. I want to say thanks to all the organizers, all the speakers, everyone coming out. We've been talking a lot about power, so Railtown Classic Rock, and we're going to throw a little power and energy out your way just to keep you in the zone. The Resilience Festival has 2 other shows, I believe, for the rest of the summer, one in August and one in September. Make sure to check those out as we talk about important things to keep this planet on the straight and narrow. We hope. Special thanks to Carissa and Brian. I'm sure there's many others, but I know they've been very busy organizing this event today. Want to also thank Dave Ronald for doing the sound. Now that's a big job. And the sound man is at every part of the band as we are, because he's the one who makes us sound good, really. Has nothing to do with us. His helper. We're going to start out with a Bruce Springsteen song called Dancing in the Dark, but we might call it Dancing in the Park. This is the most beautiful venue a band could ever hope to play in. Look at this view, Mount Loki up there, and we've been blessed with a little bit of clearing in the smoke. So unbelievable. Thank you, Kaslo, for having us. I don't know if you can hear us uptown. Maybe you will. That depends on Dave. If you can hear us, enjoy. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Get up in the evening and I ain't got nothing to say. I come home in the morning, I got a bed feeling the same way. I ain't nothing but tired, and I'm just tired and bored with myself. Baby, baby, I could use just a little help. Can't start a fire, message keeps getting clearer. Radio's on and I'm moving around the place. I check my look in the mirror. I wanna change my clothes, my hair, my face, but I ain't getting nowhere. And I'm just living in a dump like this. There's something happening somewhere. Baby, I just know there is. Can't start a fire. Can't start a fire without a spark. This guns for hire, even if we're just dancing in the dark. Sit around getting older. There's a joker somewhere and it's on me. Check this world on my shoulder. Come on, baby, the life's on me. On the streets of this town, and they'll be carving you up alright. Just say you gotta stay hungry. Well, hey baby, I'm just about starving and I'm down here trying to write this book. I need a love action. Come on, baby, give me just one look. Fire sitting right over a broken heart. This guns for hire, even if we're just dancing in the dark. Can't start a fire, worrying about your little world falling apart. This guns for hire, even if we're just dancing in the dark.
Thank you. You can't start a fire without a spark. So we shout out to the people of Silverton and that they're dealing with out there. So please remember, you don't start a fire without a spark. So let's be careful out there.
You got no keys?
Oh, we have technical arrangements up here. Bear with us.
Yep. Two, check two. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, we're back. We're back. Yep.
Big wheels keep on turning. Carry me home to see my kin. Singing songs about the Southland. Miss Alabama once again, I think it's a sin. Well, I heard Mr. Young sing about her. Heard old Neil put her down. Hope Neil Young will remember. Southern man don't need him around anyhow. Sweet home Alabama, where the skies are so blue. Sweet home Alabama, Lord, I'm coming home to you. Birmingham, they love the governor. Watergate does not bother me. Does your conscience bother you? Tell the truth. Sweet home Alabama, where the skies are so blue. Sweet home Alabama,
That song featured our guitar player, Darren May, and our keyboard player, David Lane. Now we're going to do a Fleetwood Mac song for you. Thank you.
Friday night I crashed your party. Saturday I said I'm sorry. Sunday came and trashed me out again. I was only having fun, wasn't hurting anyone, and we all enjoyed the weekend for in the combat zone. I walked through Bedford style, rode my motorcycle in the rain. crazy. But it just may be a lunatic you're looking for. Turn out the light, don't try to save me. You may be wrong for all I know, you may be right. Remember how I found you there, alone in your electric chair. I told you dirty jokes, smile. You were lonely for, I said take as I, and you might enjoy some madness for a while. Now think of all the years you tried to find someone to satisfy you. I might be as crazy as you say. If I'm crazy, then it's true that it's all because of you, and you wouldn't want me any other way. Oh, but you may be right. You may be right, I may be crazy, but it just may be a lunatic you're looking for. Turn out the light, don't try to save me. You may be wrong for all I know, you may be right. You may be wrong, but you may be right. You may be wrong, but you may be right. You may be wrong, but you may be right. You may be wrong, but you may be right.
Thank you. We're going to do an Eagles tune for you. Who knows, maybe an eagle will fly above us here. Happens quite often around here.
Well, I'm running down the road trying to loosen my load. I got 7 women on my mind. One wanna hold me, 2 wanna stone me, 1 says she's a friend of mine. Take it easy, take it easy. Don't let the sound of your wheels drive you crazy. Lighten up while you still can. Don't even try to understand. Just find a place to make your stand. Take it easy. Well, I'm a standing on a corner in Winslow, Arizona. Such a fine sight to see. It's a girl, my lord, in a flatbed Ford. Slow down and take a look at me. Come on, baby, don't say maybe. I gotta know if your sweet love is gonna say. We may lose and we may win, but we would say maybe. I gotta know if your sweet love is gonna save me. Gotta take it easy. We gotta take it easy.
The Eagles. And a quick guitar change. I want to quickly introduce the band to you. We're Railtown Classic Rock from Nelson. Roger Henthorn on lead vocals and rhythm guitar. Darren May, lead guitar and vocals. David Lane on keyboards and vocals. Phil Wilson Burks keeping the train on the tracks back here with me on bass guitar. My name is Bonnie. Let's go.
House was on fire. Well, I tried to run, but I had to wait. Feeling return. Well, I don't need a doctor to figure it out. Pass me by. When I look in the mirror, sometimes I see traces of some other guy. Well, I wanna go. I know I can't stay. I don't wanna
was Blue Rodeo, and I don't know if anybody remembers when they played at the Kaslo Jazz Festival several years back. I certainly do. They came floating in from the bay on this beautiful old Chris Craft boat and got on the back of that stage and put on the best show ever. Blue Rodeo, go Canada. Always a nightmare in the heat. Guys? Yep. What's that? 1, 2, 3. Give me the news. I got a bad case of loving. No pills gonna cure my case of loving you. Pretty face don't make no pretty heart. Baby, I knew that right from the start. The news, I got a bad case of loving you. No pills gonna cure my ills. I got a bad case of loving you. Oh yeah. The news, I got a bad case of loving you. No pills gonna cure my ills. I got a bad case of loving you. Thank you. It's for any doctors out there.
Like a bluebird with his heart removed, lonely as a train. Just as far as I can run. Bye bye, baby, rock yourself.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to do a Dire Straits song. Walk on. Feature our keyboard player, David Lane. Awesome.
Here comes Johnny singing no goldies. He Bopalula, baby, what I say. Here comes Johnny singing I down in the tunnel trying to make it pay. He got the action, he got the motion. Oh yeah, can play. Dedication, devotion. Nighttime, any day. Do a song about the sweet love woman. He do a song about the night. He do the walk. You do the walk of life. Yeah, you do the walk of life. Here come Johnny, gonna tell you a story. Hand me down my walking shoes. Here come Johnny with the power and the glory. Backbeat, the talking blues. He got the action. Oh yeah, the boy can play. Dedication, devotion, turning all the nighttime into the day. A song about the sweet love woman. We do a song about the night. You do the walk. You do the walk of life. Yeah, you do the walk of life. Now here come Johnny singing oldies goldies. We Bopalula, baby, what I say. Here come Johnny singing I got a woman down in the tunnel trying to make it pay. He got the action, the motion. Oh yeah, the boy can play. Devotion, turning all the time into the day. For all the violence and double talk. Do the song and all the trouble in the stride. And you do the walk. You do the walk of life. Yeah, you do the walk of life.
Dire Straits. David Lane. Okay, this is for anybody who's riding a motorcycle out there or gone on any long road trips. Route 66. Missouri, Oklahoma City looks so pretty. You'll see Colorado, Gallup, New Mexico, Flagstaff, Arizona. Don't forget Winona, Kingman, Barstow, San Bernardino. Won't you get hip to this kind of tip and go take that California? Get your
it on. There's no stopping me once I get going. Put a can in my hand, man. I'm wide ass open. The tick-tock of that clock is like a time bomb. By 10:30, I'm a half past tipsy. A 11:45, man, I done had. After others, I was feeling loose, singing karaoke. Things she shot. Baby doll, if you want, but I can't turn it off once I turn it on. There's no stopping me once I get it going. Put a can in my hand, man, I'm wide ass open. The tick-tock of that clock is like a time bomb. By 10:30, I'm half past tipsy. A 11:45, man, I done had plenty. The countdown's on when the first beer hits me. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, or too many. Quit, won't stop till I get to the bar. This, the night's still young. What you say, we shotgun one. There's no stopping me once I get a go. It's open. Past 10, I'm a half past tipsy. A 1/4. The countdown's on. Here hits me. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, or too many. Yeah, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, or too many.
Weehaw. We have a couple more songs for you. Okay. Okay. We're going to do a Tragic Lip song. It's going to feature Roger Hemthorne on vocals and everybody else doing stuff too. Darren May on guitar. Let's go. Let's do this.
Little blues on the street, loose and complete, under skies of smoky blue-green. I can't forsake this Dixie dead shake, so we dance the sidewalk green. Muddy New Orleans is sinking, man, and I don't want to swim. Can I talk? What's wrong? What's going on? You can tie yourself up for a deal. He said, hey, no, yourself, shut your big mouth. You got to do what you feel is real. Ain't got no picture postcards, ain't got no souvenirs. My baby, she don't know me when I'm thinking about those years. Tail as a light bulb hanging on a wire, sucking up to something just to stoke the fire. The scenery saw a little cloud, little like me. Hand in the river, feet up there on the banks, looked up above and said, hey man, thanks. Sometimes I feel so good I gotta scream. She said, baby, I know exactly what she means. She said, swim.
Okay, thank you. We have time for one more. We're going to do a song that's kind of pertinent to right now, and hopefully we don't have to experience it. It's called Smoke as Far Away from Here as We. And once again, thank you, Kaslo. Thank you, Downtown. Thank you, the Bay. Thank you, everyone, for having us. It's been great to be here. Thanks, Dave. On the Lake Geneva line, make rest with a mobile.
pulling kids out the ground. Was all over, we had to find another place. But Swiss time was running out, seemed like we would lose the race. Empty, cold, and bare. Outside, making our music there, with a few red lights and a few old bears, made ourselves a place to sweat. No matter what we get out of this, I know we'll never forget. Smoke on the water, fire in the sky.
Thank you so much. Have a good evening, everyone. Drive safe. Be safe. Be careful with fires.
bass player has to go to another gig. Sorry. Give it up for Railtown. Ooh. Okay, awesome. We have another panel coming up here. Nicole. Just if you want to step up here.
Thanks, Jim. Hi, everyone. I'm Nicole Charlwood, BC Greens candidate in the upcoming provincial election. I'm honored to be here. Thanks for the invitation. I'd like to call up Dawn Scarlett. Hal Wright.
What we were thinking is that we have a chance to talk for 5 minutes.
Yeah, so leave it there? Great.
Well, might as well as people choose, I guess.
Sure.
I could take it out, I guess.
It's up whatever you're comfortable with. Good. So first, we'll just start with you. Hey, Dawn? Dawn Scarlett, you're representing Micro Hydro. Is that the name of your business, or are you talking about it as a general topic?
Yeah, I am talking about it as a general
And make
topic.
sure you put it right up to your mouth, please, the mic.
Is that about right?
How is that for sound?
Does it have a switch?
Yeah, just be...
Sorry. Hello, hello?
There you
Oh,
go.
Now it's working.
Thanks, Dawn. You go ahead.
Okay. I'm Don Scarlett. I live in Kaslo and have for 50 years. One of the things that I've been doing since 1990, that's 34 years ago, I decided that it was an interesting idea to get into the micro business because I had seen some federal programs that were running at that time to encourage renewable energy. And I've never looked back since then. This is a wonderful area for micro hydro. We have the combination of relative. We've got a lot of creeks coming down very steep mountainsides, and that's the ideal formula for micro hydro that's practical in this area. If you were to draw a circle around Nelson that reached as far as Kaslo, but the circle that large, there are probably 100 micro hydro power plants in that area. It's amazing how many there are, and that tells a whole story because the attractive things do not have footprint. You don't even know they're there. It's a pipeline that runs up through the woods to an intake alongside a creek in most cases. The power plant can be quite small and still produce a very useful amount of energy. So it's the ideal way to produce energy in this area, very well suited to it, and it is also 24/7 and all through the year, winter and summer, it'll produce power for you the entire year. The thing to keep in mind, I guess, is that somebody has to know how, and somebody has to, but the money side of it is too unmanageable because the payback for most of the micro hydro projects that I've worked on in the last 35 years have been the payback has typically been a matter of about 5 years, and after that it's gravy because you're generating useful, valuable energy forever at that point because if you a typical poly pipe for the penstock, and the only thing you have to do to maintain the system after that is grease the turbine bearings and so forth. There's no reason why it wouldn't be working 50 years from now or even longer. The pipeline itself is essentially perpetual. And so the advantage, of course, besides financial, because you do, essentially you're producing a valuable product which you can use yourself, is that it is long-lived and it will be also a very small environmental footprint, one that makes it quite attractive. In an area like this, you know, we're accustomed to the idea of seeing long power lines coming from down the power dams along the Columbia, coming up here to supply us with electricity. They lose a great deal of energy in those wires.
getting it here. So Fortescue, it was losing about 7% of its energy in heating up, through basically resistance in the power lines. And I suspect that when we're talking about a rural line, the percentage is a lot higher than that, because they only large enough to do the job, and a smaller wire would tend to heat up more. So generating power at this end saves that energy, because if I do generate power at my place at Fletcher Creek, and the energy that I produce goes about 200 meters in either direction. It goes to my neighbors and it feeds them. FortisBC is obviously involved because that's how it gets to the neighbors, but the point of the whole issue is that there's no loss, insignificant loss in the transmission for a short distance like that. And in fact, the more people who are generating power in an area like this, in a rural area, the better, because the whole area becomes more resilient. And that's a word that we need to know more about, and we need to respect it as much as we can, because resilience is what enables communities like ours to survive. The same thing applies, of course, to a lot of other rural areas. I certainly have worked on projects somewhat further away, up Trout Lake and so forth. I've been working and I'm working on one south of Rossland right now. But the general idea is that generating power from microhydro is pretty straightforward. It involves water pressure, and water keeps flowing as long as you are sizing your size creek, and it's relatively easy to do. There is sense in building it. The payback is very good, and with net metering, which Fortis permits, and so does BC Hydro, then you also can have the advantage of offsetting most, if not all, of your power bill during the entire year. So I'll stop at this point because I think I'm probably approaching 5 minutes, but perhaps there will be a time to add details if people have questions.
Thanks, Don.
Thank you.
Thanks, Don. I really appreciate that. And that efficiency piece is important. I've heard up to 15% energy gets lost just in the transmission. So there's definitely an efficiency question there. Thanks, Don. And now Hal Wright of Sandon. If you could introduce yourself, please. Let us know about your project. I'm a big fan.
Thank you, Nicole. And yes, I am Hal Wright from Sandon. Has anybody been to Sandon? Has anybody been through the generating station there? Okay. Well, that's my turf and my passion. Our operation owned utility scale generating entity in British Columbia. 3 other family owned, taken down by the government via BC Hydro, and even at a time when we need more power. So anyway, we probably would have been taken down as well, other than our operation is 127 years. That's 127 years, 24/7. And it's in the World Hydro Hall of Fame. Take us down without your political upheaval. And so I'm going to bring a slightly different perspective. Anybody to see our operation. It's world class. But I'm going to and I wanted to say one of my heroes is Don Scarlett that just spoke here. I also really admire the city of Nelson for hanging in there and keeping their ownership of their utility. They're the only ones in the province that were resistant to being absorbed by the big centralized model that was popular after World War II. And now places in the world are toward decentralization, and that's a very necessary thing if we want to resolve these problems. My frustration is that I've been in this game for far too long, and and I see so much disinformation out there. It's saddening because it only slows the transition that we have to make here. And I would say that the primary barrier to resolving these energy reliability issues is political. In fact, almost all of our issues are political. And so I may be the rebel here and put it out there, but we really have to change the way that we're managing our electricity resources in this province, unless we want to fall into the trap that we do. And if you want to look at an example of what happens to a country when your reliability is on a centralized monopoly and a centralized system, just look to Ukraine. How do you take a nation down the fastest way and leave them crippled? Nothing works anymore when the power goes off. So that's a lot of what I want to pass along in terms of a message, but I want to keep it light and fun too. What's worse than a monopoly? Anybody? Come on. A government-owned monopoly. Because they write their own rules and they aren't necessarily for your benefit. So that's one of the things that I would like to see change a lot in this province, is just the way that the electricity is managed. You look at a place like Kaslo at one time, like most communities in this province, was electricity self-sufficient. Kaslo had its own power generating plant in 1962. It was taken over and demolished and made way for the bigger, better centralized model. Well, is it bigger and better? I think we're a number of power plants similar to the one that we have at home generating power. It would certainly make the reliability of electricity in this area greatly different than it is. And some things never change. I guess the value of being involved in something historical is that, 127 years ago, Nikola Tesla was developing his technology, and things were advancing there. But nothing has changed in the sense that today the competition for different technologies and methods and who controls what, and it's the corporate influence, it's the military, it's the government, it's the big players. It's all about monopoly, and so you can be persuaded to do some things that are not very effective. It's water power on a local level not more talked about in British Columbia because they don't want to share it.
Projects, IPs, that was a big debate many years ago, and we'll definitely get that back by doing this. Next, I'd like to introduce Jaden Woodland. He's from Turbulent. Could you come up here and introduce yourself and tell us about your work, please?
Hi there. I'm definitely not from Turbulent.
Oh.
I've just been introduced to them recently, and
Okay.
I've been in talks with them about the possibility of using their technology here. They are pretty cool. It's old technology used in kind of a new way, and I'm more possibilities of how, and I'm kind of noticing a theme that we all seem to have this leaning towards some form of decentralized power generation. And I like to think of it as like a mycelium network, and if every creek had a non-invasive system on it and we could all connect to a main trunk or something, I think it could be a very different world. So I agree with the last speaker on talking about, but first I would just like to give a little introduction and talk about some of the differences of power generation. So first of all, Don Scarlett is the one who trained me, and he's what I would consider the grandpappy of hydro in the Kootenays. One of them, obviously the history goes back further as we've heard, but he's done so much work over the years. And in fact, the property where I live now is the first micro hydro system that I ever installed. It was 37 years ago, I think. 34 years ago. Okay, so I'm exaggerating, sorry. 34 years ago, and still generating power, and that's what we're not on grid at all. So it's pretty fantastic. I notice focus, and we all probably have, about solar in around the world, how well it functions, and a lot of government rebates and to install solar, and I think it's a beautiful concept. However, I guess I'm here in a way to advocate for water over sun for power generation for two reasons. One is that the sun is not always there. So we need storage. We need batteries to use electricity at nighttime, whereas water is 24/7. And then the other thing, of course, is the real longevity of the panels and the impacts of mining for batteries. So with those things in consideration, I feel like the creeks in this area is our biggest power potential. And I really do see a future where we have decentralized power for at least our region, if not bigger areas. Okay, so Don mentioned microhydro. We talked about head pressure. So that's where you have an intake up high on the mountain, and the more drop you can achieve, the more potential power you can produce. Of course, more water also. So that's pressure. You have quick rotation, and and it's a lot of infrastructure. The other type of hydro turbine that's quite popular for microhydro is called a flow turbine. And it's slow moving, and it operates on the passage or movement of water, generally about 1 meter per second, or in the case of turbulent, 1.5 meters per second. And they need 1.5 meters cubed of quantity of water. So it's not a small creek. You need a big amount of water. Small 15 kilowatts, and they go up to 70. I think in Kenya they just did one that was 110 kilowatts. And the concept is basically to create a small vortex. So if you imagine, maybe if you see Braden over there in the Sasquatch shirt, wave Braden, it could be as close as this. Depending on the vertical drop, you need about 1.5 meters of head, so probably not much above my feet. If you can drop, then that's enough to get this vortex created. Look down, it would look like a snail. So imagine a snail shell with the big end up, and makes a vortex, and then you have the turbine right at the bottom of the whirlpool, and then you have a tailings, a tail race where it comes out and puts the water back into the creek. So it could be as short as from Braden to I, where we take the water out and we put it back in and generate more than enough power for at least a couple of homes, maybe a home and a big greenhouse and a shop or something. You know, it can be pretty active. One of the other beauties to microhydro is that hydro, you're almost incentivized to use power. You're not really thinking about turning off your lights or using any electricity, because it's just going to a dump load anyways. With microhydro, you have to consistently use 100% of your generation. It's got to go somewhere. So there's all that energy availability, and there's lots of ways to be creative with how to use that excess energy. Yeah, I think that's about it for me. If there's any questions about turbulent, you can look it up, turbulent.de, I think, perhaps. Check that. I'm not 100%, or ask me afterwards, and I'm happy to talk about it. I love this stuff. Thanks.
Thanks, Jaden. Yeah, I found interesting. You're sort of pitting solar. No, I'm just teasing you kind of. But I do think it's worth noting that if we're going to local energy, you know, a diversity of energy inputs and options is really the solution. I don't think, and I think this is where it's become political, and it shouldn't be, is that we try to pick that one thing that's going to be the successful thing that we're all going to jump behind. And really, if we're going to maximize our capacity to generate our own local energy, that there's a mix. And when I worked for the West Kootenay Eco Society, we were advocating for 100% renewable energy, and they still are in the West Kootenays by 2050. And our mix that we did research on involved 7 different types of energy generation. So there's lots of choice, and we're not picking right now, right? So finally, we'll have Mikhail, please, from Dandelion Renewables. Let's hear from you. Who are you, and what do you have to offer to the conversation? Thanks.
Great. Thank you very much, Nicole. Yeah. I'll start with introducing myself, then the company, and I guess talk about some of latest projects that we've been working on. So my name is Mikhail. I grew up and raised in Russia, and mathematician by background, and been doing in Russia nuclear safety assessments of nuclear power plants. And then in 2000 moved to New York and worked at Wall Street for about a couple of years doing financial risk analysis. And then went to Alberta in 2001. EPCOR and Capital Power brought as well as doing risk management. So my role was to finding the projects, presenting to the board of directors until the capital is committed. And I got the bug of renewable energy at that point. So, I really understand the kind of the shift in terms of climate change, in terms of for us to start changing the way how we're generating energy. And in 2011, started our own company, Dandelion Renewables, that I co-founded and run it since then for 14 years. So that's about me. In terms of company and in terms of the agenda here, I really want to support independent power producers and give them as much power and empower them to actually go and make first steps and look at the options, all options that's available right now. And in Saskatchewan, Alberta, and British Columbia, they have a lot of abundance of renewable energy, including hydro as well. Through existence of Dandelion projects, we've been started actually doing energy efficiency for the Alberta agricultural sector, where we looked at all the ways to help economically be more sustainable, more resilient. And I do I'm a very strong believer that there is intersection between the projects being economically feasible, environmentally sustainable, and beneficial for the client in terms of giving them the freedom, the freedom to actually, do something. Like energy is one of the things, right? Growing the food, producing your own energy, just being yourself as an entity, not dependent on the government and other, infrastructure. That's a, very empowering thing that I'm very blessed that I think I, was to help and bring this to this world. So after energy efficiency projects, we realized that solar has a really good economics, unlike the wind, which I spent 11 years doing on the large scale. So the solar on the smaller scale and distributed energy makes really good economic sense. So we start presenting financial results to commercial clients, to municipalities. I can brag that Dandelion Renewables bought 5 municipalities in Alberta to be net zero, still connected to the grid, but generating as much solar energy as they consume for all municipal buildings. And so we've been very successful doing solar installations. We started energy about 10 years ago with lithium ion for in them, programming different inverters. I think we have one of the most cost-effective right now solution to for the microgrids for energy storage as well. Portion of the systems that we do is hybrid technology, which allows to be in the future converted to take seamlessly. And one of the last project that I'm very excited to work on is that shift towards transportation. So we, I think, gonna see more electrical vehicles, deployment of electrical vehicles on the road. Certainly you can see it when you drive to Vancouver areas, and more to come. What we're interested to do, when we're talking about the lack of capacity and how utility companies can solve this problem, we developed, we purchased land on the highway, we built trackable solar with single access, and we installed 2 fast EV charging stations, and we deployed analytics that allows to change the capacity of the charging station depending how much solar is available. So that approach is actually transferable to utility companies, where if we do go with our ambitious plans to change the of transportation to more environmentally friendly, then there will be need to smartly use the capacity of the batteries that the electrical vehicle charging provides. So it could be on a residential level, where there will be time of the day premium in terms of when do you charge your electrical vehicle, and could solve lots of problems, I think, across the province for the peak capacity availability. Last projects that we pushing do different things, and we try to not use the clients as a piggyback. We actually, we purchase the land, we actually invest our own money to do the projects that we believe in before we actually roll it to consumers, to utilities, to municipalities, to our clients. And maybe a little bit currently to close off is that when I moved to Kootenay. So I'm in construction of the house that I kind of designed, and the whole idea is that test out on myself different energy conservation approaches, like storing not electricity but storing the heat. I'm basically playing around my own place and really having a lot of fun with it. So it's I live fully off grid, and I'm really inspired to share my knowledge and my findings when it's going to be finalized with more people like you, so you can make educated choices and choose the energy and be free as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Mikhail. Maybe we could have everybody come on up and share. Maybe take the mic off the stand. I'll ask. I think I have time maybe for one question. Keep it going. Okay, I have a couple questions then. Okay, why don't we start with, so the first group talked about what can individuals do. They can get educated, they can figure out their current. I'm curious, we're talking about independent power projects, but how can we be more collaborative in our communities? What experience do you gentlemen have in the projects you've done where you've seen groups of people, maybe a municipality, come together and work together to accomplish what we're talking about for a small community? If you could give us an example, a lesson learned. You don't all need to do a big talk about it, but maybe just something that we could pick up on here as users that don't have the experience that you do.
I'll begin if you like. And
thanks, Don.
One of the things that I've had a great deal of interest in is the possibility of keeping or reviving, I guess I'd have to put it, a local hydro project, micro hydro project, or it's actually getting to be fairly good size, somewhere around 200 kilowatts at Woodbury Creek. This is a project that was working, but it is in mothballs right now because of two things. One is that there was a flood that did some damage to it, but the other more important part is that the price that the builder of it was able to get for that for the electricity he generated was so low, something in the range of about 3 cents per kilowatt hour. It may be higher now, but it's certainly nowhere near the 13.5 cents per kilowatt hour would. There needs to be a little bit of thought given to a situation where a perfectly good hydro plant that could generate power could be operating right now. The monopoly situation and the way decisions get made politically, we just don't have the opportunity to see a first place. And I'll just make one comment, and that is that there are other people besides the utilities who can generate electricity. Steve Nelson can. The regional district of Central Kootenay could generate its own electricity, buy and sell electricity, and so could the municipality of Kaslo. However, you can imagine that this would not be an easy to put across, but that is something that is a case where perhaps some of the local municipalities, because the regional district is a municipality as well, could be involved in renewable energy in a very beneficial way.
Thanks, Don. Hal.
Hi. Thanks, Nicole. A good question to ask, and the part about education is fundamental. So how many of you in all of the discussions that have been going on over the past decade have ever heard hydro mentioned in renewables? We hear about solar and wind all the time, sometimes geothermal, but almost the oldest and most proven technologies is barely mentioned and often forgotten. And so one of the things in everybody the speed to understand what's good for your own situation and your community is understanding some of the differences. Now, large-scale hydro involving storage, one animal entirely different than other forms of hydro. And I want to make it really clear, dams doesn't have to interrupt a river, to impact. We're talking two entirely different technologies, but they're often assumed to be one and the same. And most of us, let's face it, when we think of hydro, we think of the Grand Coulee Dam. But that's not what would work well here in the West Kootenay. We have potential to develop a lot of really green hydropower, and this would be involving a number of locations. Would have to be locally managed, and that could be through co-ops, family ownership, like Don says. It could be municipal. There's all kinds of models, but they're all operations that could not possibly survive under a management